Okay, we've just come around the corner a tiny amount from Siwash Rock. We're still in the Nanaimo and we're moving further south. Here at this viewpoint, you can see a kind of columnar shaped feature on the left of a slightly darker rock, which is weathering in a blocky way, quite different to the outcrops of the Nanaimo group sandstone that we've been looking at, that form these weaker outcrops that are weathering a lot. I initially didn't go and look at that. I came along and looked at the sedimentary unit here, the Nanaimo sandstone, because I was interested in looking for further evidence that this is a submarine deposit that was deposited on a submarine fan while it was still wet. So I was looking at these harder layers. There's a few of them that are very indurated. They're harder, they are sedimentary layers. They're made of the same material as the bulk of this outcrop is, but they're much harder. They're indurated, but they're discontinuous. So they don't form continuous beds, they're just floating inside the matrix. So my initial hypothesis was that these were floating beds. If you imagine sediment being deposited on a saturated submarine fan in episodic flows, some of that is going to settle and it's going to start to form a solid bed. And then the next flow might break off parts of that will retain some structure, but then float around and be redeposited. And we call those floating beds. So that was my initial interpretation. There's 3 more if we pan around here. And I even wondered if these 3 up here, maybe you can see 2 of them, were even imbricated by a subsequent flow. As we kept on looking, we became a bit more interested, Lucy became a bit more interested in this igneous feature. So maybe you want to come in and speak about that one. It has a contact with the Nanaimo group, and we rethought some of our ideas.
High tech. So when I got here, I saw because I'm a volcanologist, so I ignored the sediments and looked straight at the dike that we saw back over there and the exposure of this more blocky material over here. And I hypothesized that perhaps some of the more indurated sediments here are the result of some kind of baking or something to do with this later stage dike material. You can imagine perhaps this is really hot, it's coming into our wet sediments, and it's sort of heating up the water in those sediments, and perhaps that water is migrating along some of the bedding planes. So yeah, nice, Mitch. And I don't know, we've spent about 5-10 minutes here, and we're not entirely sure which we like the most. So maybe what we would ask you guys to do is, of those 2 ideas, how would we test them?